Hello guys, Joker the Fool here, back at it again with another episode of the Braxcast. This is of course the 74th episode of the Braxcast, and we're going to be talking all about the Horseman because really cool news is that the Horseman #1 is fulfilling. Fulfillment started yesterday on the 8th of August. I haven't got my shipment notification yet, like I said on the live stream that I did yesterday, but I'm sure it'll come out sometime this week towards me. But anyway, they're pretty quick about fulfilling everything from the pre-orders once fulfillment starts. So people are going to start getting their books, their reviews are going to come in, including mine. So it's really exciting to see this one. Of course, Horseman, Welcome to Flores Park made over $800,000. The #1 collection made a bit over $300,000. So this is a really popular character. Fans have always been very positive towards the Horseman ever since he was announced at MegaCon Orlando in 2024, and the hype and the excitement for the Horseman has only increased as we got Welcome to Flores Park, and people absolutely love that book. And of course, going into #1 with its really interesting story of getting Horseman back in the game at the behest of Cal Buxton is going to be very interesting as well. But since I don't have the book quite yet, and there really isn't anything else going on in the Rippaverse news cycle, I wanted to talk about the character of the Horseman himself. Is of course Hector Lee Cabarello, an Army veteran who is where he gets his experience from. I figure we'll go over his Dokkan card. We'll go over some stuff from Horseman Welcome to Flores Park that I think is going to be the most relevant to the start of his ongoing series. So this is, of course, the back of his Dokkan card. The 23rd one comes in, I believe, the third deck of Dokkan cards. And, of course, Hector Cabarello is a man with many secrets, even from the ones he would profess to love. He appears to have a penchant for symbolism, particularly that of the knight, which he employs with his Horseman alter ego. What started as a squad name with his brothers in arms seemed to have evolved into a cycle of violence. Could he stop after so long, even if he wanted to? Or would he feel like he is letting his former team down? Hector has used his elite military training to pursue justice by delivering it upon the criminal underworld with brutal retribution. Though he is new to Flores Park, he is already leaving a long and winding trail of bodies in his path. What will the Texas city's body count rise to, with the Horseman taking up permanent residency within its walls? And of course, the time spent overseas with the Special Horseman unit has honed his highly trained military man into a fearsome weapon of war, one which he has taken to Flores Park streets. He doesn't have any acceptabilities, which means one day he may pick a fight he won't walk away from. And of course, if you read the Welcome to Flores Park, Blitz and Sturm are basically that for him. And of course, it's I believe that's Blitz and that's Sturm right there. I can always mix them up. But those are these two characters who are accepts. One has super strength, the other has mental kinesis. And they basically give basically just like an inch away from taking out a Horseman. Then Braxwell comes in and saves the day for Horseman. But of course, that's not really going to be the most relevant thing. And we're going to go with what's started off in the Dokkan card. And of course, this is one of the things that I really love about Joe Bennett's artwork, and I'll have really great respect for any artist who knows what they're doing when they're drawing comics. Is the art is so important in telling the story. And if you see this section right here, this is a picture of Horseman's squad, the Horseman. Of course, you see like an army emblem. You see like a Horseman. You see like four of spades, the knight in the center. This very much is indicative of the motif of his unit. And that's really what gave him the training, the ability to use guns and be familiar with close quarters combat and all of that stuff, and allowed him to have that like ability to be the Horseman. Of course, it's where he gets the name from, because he's the last of the Horsemen. And I imagine we're going to find that out, because if you look at the preview pages, I don't have it on me right now, but one of the preview pages on the Horseman #1 collection does have a flashback to a war scene. So I imagine in the 56-pager, maybe about 5 pages or so are going to be dedicated to giving us a little bit of context as to why he's the last Horseman and how his time in his tours overseas went for him. So his past is going to be very relevant to Horseman #1, of course, to more of the ongoing series. But I think definitely for the number one to really give us more establishment of the character. And I think we get a little bit of illusion there in this one page here. And you just get, you don't have any lettering for it, you don't have any exposition for it, but of course you also see that he's got the army shirt on right there, as well, just letting you know that he's a veteran. And that very subtle nod to that is very much the core of the background of his character. His attitude, his ability to even be the Horseman is all from his time spent in the military. So of course that's going to be very relevant to his character going forward. And then the other thing I would say that's going to be most relevant is definitely his interactions with the Alpha Corps. So of course we explicitly get this from Brian Solari, and again we have probably, there's so many double page spreads in basically all of Joe Bennett's books. Alpha Corps 1, Zalen, Horseman, he just has so many spreads, like single page to double page spreads, and this is a really epic double page spread of Solari just basically hauling Horseman back to his car. And once you get that page spread, you get these panels that really give us a little bit more context to the story. Still a really nice drawing saying, make this your last ride of the Horseman, okay? What about Tuna, Calhoun, and his gang? Not your problem anymore. Of course, Tuna gets off by Michael and Lillian. Hang up your guns or you and I will have a problem. He says, roger that. He says, basically, let's see, last ride of the Horseman, Solari told me I'm going to have to live with that for now. Of course, we are going to get, the Horseman is going to come back at the behest of Cal Buxton, but this is very much indicative that Brian Solari and the Alpha Corps know about Horseman. They know what his name is. They know where he lives. They know he has a family. They can use the strong arm of the law against him, especially when they're saying, hey, he's going to try and deal with accepts. He's going to be a trouble for basically anybody who isn't an accept, because he's probably of any street level character, he's going to be the most powerful. We see that with him taking out Tuna's gang. Of course, the animation in which that launched with Welcome to Florist Park, and if I can go to the warehouse scene, if I had that one prepared for me, it's just a really epic fight scene of just how good he is at dealing with these characters, because he's got guys with rocket launchers, he's got guys with Uzis and machine guns, and he's just taking them all out like it's nothing. It's a whole gang of people. So any street level character, no matter how well armed they are, Horseman is going to be able to go up against them. So it really kind of makes him a threat to that an accept has to deal with. So I would say Brian Solari would be justified in saying, hey, the Alpha Corps needs to deal with Horseman because nobody else is going to be able to. You send a bunch of regular cops after them, he's just going to kill them. I don't think he would want to kill cops. That's not what Horseman wants to do. But if they're going to threaten him, threaten his bodily autonomy, then he's going to defend himself. And that's a thing with vigilantism that kind of makes it very much morally controversial, or it gives this moral question. It's like, well, if you're going against the cops and the cops are going against you and you want to work with them but they don't want to work with you, are you going to defend yourself, or are you going to turn yourself in? Are you justified in defending yourself so that way you can keep killing the criminals, that way you can make the streets safer and do it more effectively than the cops will be able to? So a lot of these moral questions that surround vigilantism that are very interesting, that have really always been at the center of any vigilante story, is of course going to be continued in the Horseman. And it's going to be a lot of this is going to be around his interactions with the Alpha Corps. I do think that a lot of what we are going to learn about the Alpha Corps is going to come from Horseman. I remember, if I'm remembering correctly, when I interviewed Chuck Dixon in Braxcast number 50, Chuck Dixon actually mentioned that pretty explicitly. So it's going to be really interesting to see how Horseman deals with getting the Alpha Corps off his back as he gets back into the game. I think this is also going to be Cal Buxton is going to help him, because if Cal Buxton is putting up a billboard for the Horseman, he's going to probably be aware that the Alpha Corps is going to be knows about him, since of course he's saying he's his biggest fan in the trailer, which is really good. Cal Buxton's got this The voice actor really went for like that Mark Hamill, like Joker kind of vibe. I absolutely love that trailer. And it does give us a really good amount of context into the motivations of Cal's character. So really excited to get our introduction to Cal Buxton, how he's going to help upgrade his suit, upgrade his gear. Of course, there's the speculation that Gooding might come and assist in Cal Buxton and giving Horseman new gear. I definitely think that is a possibility. Gooding doesn't really have any qualms about working with basically anybody. He worked with Michael. He was willing to work for Michael and Lillian. I'm sure he'd be willing to work with Horseman as long as he gives them the money. And of course, as we learn in this book, Horseman doesn't have any problems with getting money because he takes it from the criminals who are dealing drugs and doing all these other things. And then he uses that to support his family, but he can also use that to give Gooding a little bit of cash to upgrade his arsenal. And again, Gooding does not really have the tightest moral compass, so he's going to be willing to take dirty money from Horseman to upgrade his equipment. So I think that's going to be a cool thing, but I don't think it's going to happen in number one. That's a down the line sort of thing. It is only going to be a 56-pager, so it's going to be introducing Cal Buxton, going a little bit into his past, and it's going to establish the character of Horseman as an ongoing vigilante, while also explaining how the Alpha Corps stay off his back. Maybe Brian Solari just lets it happen because he realizes that the Horseman's motivations and the Horseman's actions are actually more beneficial for Flores Park than if he weren't to do it. So there's a lot of I don't know how Chuck is going to do it. I'm sure he's going to find a really good way to do it since he's the writer on both Alpha Corps and Horseman, so he has a good knowledge of all these characters. He knows how to make them work well with each other. It's going to be really exciting to see this, and this is going to be definitely giving us a lot of insight into the Rippaverse in general. So really excited to see this one. But like I said, those are the things that really stand out for me with what from this 96-pager Welcome to Flores Park is going to be explored the most. And I think, as I said in my review of Horseman, Welcome to Flores Park, this is a really self-contained story. So it does a lot of work in just establishing the Horseman's character and getting him to Flores Park, while also being a great foundation for the ongoing series, which at the time we did not know that we had an ongoing series. This book came out in November of 24, and then of course we had the Rip reveal in December, and it was revealed that we were getting an ongoing series for the Horseman, which I think extremely justified based on how the fans have responded, and apparently has been a really good seller, not just in the pre-order collections, but of course as an evergreen product in the storefront, which really happy to see. Fantastic book, and I really hope the ongoing series gets plenty of issues going on with Chuck and Joe keeping on that same team, because they are the workhorses of the Rippaverse, pun kind of intended, and they've done a lot of great work already with these first 3 books that they've made: Alpha Corps 1, Horseman Welcome to Flores Park, and Zalen. Of course, more Alpha Corps and Horseman being ongoing series is going to be really fantastic, and of course we get at least a limited series for Zalen. That's going to be really, really cool as well. But for now, Horseman is what's going to be the talk of the Rippaverse. So I figured I'd get out a little bit ahead with this Braxcast, give my kind of speculation on what Horseman number 1 is going to be about. And of course, after Horseman number 1 comes, we can come back to this video and see if I was completely right or I was completely wrong. But regardless of what happens, I will be covering it on the Braxcast. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. Joker is.
Thank you for tuning in to the Braxcast. Be sure to like, comment, follow, and subscribe to keep up with the Rippaverse.